It sounds like consideration, like maturity, like a commitment to self-care. But when a woman tells you, "I need space," she is often initiating a strategic emotional withdrawal that serves a purpose you absolutely do not understand. The common narrative, the one she probably believes and certainly tells you, is that she is overwhelmed, that she needs time to reconnect with herself, or that she needs to solve an internal problem unrelated to you. That narrative is a comforting lie, a social fiction designed to make the transition easier for both parties while obscuring the uncomfortable truth about female relationship psychology. I am going to walk you through exactly what "I need space" means in the context of pattern recognition, emotional investment, and the female comparison mechanism. This is not about judgment. This is about diagnosis. This is about understanding the language of feminine devaluation, so you can respond with strategic clarity instead of emotional panic. Now, before we dive into the mechanics of this devaluation strategy, I am curious. Where are you processing this information right now? Drop the city you are currently watching from into the comments. The request for space is almost never about space itself. It is about emotional distance and reevaluation, driven by a specific deficit she perceives. She asks for space, usually not during a period of stability or genuine shared stress, but after a period where the relationship has become too predictable, too stable, or too demanding of her emotional investment. You have likely become the secure attachment, the man who is consistently there, who provides stability and predictability. In short, you have successfully met the criteria for a long-term partner. And ironically, that consistency is precisely what triggers the need for distance. Her emotional system is often calibrated not for comfortable security, but for the chemical high of novelty and uncertainty. When you are the secure baseline, her mind begins to wander, looking for the feeling of pursuit and excitement that your commitment has naturally extinguished. The first function is to create a dynamic deficit in the relationship, a strategic withdrawal of attention and intimacy. By creating this void, she achieves two results. Second, and crucially, she tests your emotional framework. She wants to see if you will panic. If you chase her, you confirm two things for her: that you are entirely invested and available, and that your self-respect is conditional on her presence. This confirms that she holds the power in the relationship, which paradoxically makes her respect you less. Your chasing behavior broadcasts loud and clear that you are none of those things right now. The moment she says, "I need space," she has effectively downgraded your status from primary partner to backup option. Or at least she has initiated the testing phase to see if you deserve to remain the primary partner. This is why the logistics of the space are so important. When a woman genuinely needs personal time, for career stress or a family emergency, she typically provides clear parameters, a timeline, and reassures you of the relationship's stability. When she says, "I need space," without a timeline, without clear boundaries, and immediately begins emotional stonewalling, she has opened up the relationship for external exploration while keeping you tethered to the mooring post. This leads us to the second and far more critical function of "I need space." She is exploring her options. This exploration is often not conscious cheating, but it is emotional infidelity disguised as self-care. She might start taking more calls from male friends, reconnecting with an ex, or spending excessive time on social media seeking external approval. This external validation serves to confirm to her that she is still desirable, that she hasn't settled, and that if the relationship with you were to end, she would not be left alone. She is weighing the comfort and stability you provide against the excitement and potential novelty offered by her other options. You are stable, but perhaps she views you as low stimulus. The space is the laboratory where this comparison test takes place. The more emotionally disconnected she becomes from you during this space, the deeper she is sinking into the validation loops provided by others. If she is already feeling attraction toward another man, or if she is already emotionally checked out, the request for space gives her moral license to pursue that connection without technically cheating in her own mind. She can tell herself, "We were on a break," or "I was just trying to figure things out." This external framing protects her self-image while she navigates the transition away from you. The relationship is dying, and she is simply establishing the distance necessary for the death to occur without her having to take full responsibility for the killing. When a woman genuinely needs space for introspection, her behavior becomes self-contained, isolated, and focused inward. She might cancel social engagements to read, meditate, or focus on a personal project. Watch for these signals when she requests distance. First, increased secrecy and device attachment. Her phone becomes her lifeline and her shield. She takes calls in other rooms or whispers. This is the clearest indication that the external validation she is seeking requires secrecy. A manipulative space request is intentionally vague. "I just need a few weeks," she might say, or "I don't know when I'll be ready to talk." This vagueness maintains control over the timeline, ensuring that you remain in emotional limbo, waiting for her decision while she remains free to explore. Third, sudden change in appearance and socializing. She starts focusing more intensely on her physical appearance, dressing provocatively, and prioritizing socializing with friends, especially going out to places where she can be seen. This is not self-care. This is re-entry into the sexual marketplace to gauge her attractiveness and desirability, often signaled by increased posts on social media that are specifically designed to solicit attention from external male validation sources. Fourth, minimal emotional investment during contact. If she agrees to meet during the space, her demeanor is detached and distant. She avoids genuine intimacy, both physical and emotional. She may even act annoyed or overwhelmed by your presence. This detachment is necessary for her to solidify the emotional distance required to justify seeking attention elsewhere. She might say, "I need space because I don't feel appreciated," or "I need space because I'm worried about our lack of direction." These criticisms are often retrospective justifications for her emotional checking out, not genuine reasons for the distance. She is trying to construct a narrative where the relationship failed, thereby absolving her of the responsibility for her decision to explore other options. The moment you encounter the "I need space" pattern, you must shift your perspective immediately. Your task is not to win her back or prove your worth. Your task is to maintain your frame and dignity by signaling that you are not an option that can be put on pause. You do not chase, you do not beg. You respond with a quiet, confident affirmation that recognizes the gravity of her request. You might say, "I understand that you need time to sort out your feelings. When you ask for space, that means the relationship is paused, and I will be using this time to focus entirely on my own goals, my fitness, and my professional progress. I will be here when you return, but understand that I cannot commit to waiting indefinitely while you decide what you want." This response is crucial because it signals several things. 1. You respect her autonomy, which removes the chasing dynamic. 2. You value yourself and your time, which introduces scarcity and raises your perceived value. And 3. You shift the accountability back to her. You are not waiting for her. You are proceeding with your life. You have essentially set a soft, internal deadline for her return. If she returns quickly, it may be because her external options failed to deliver the excitement or security she craves, and she recognizes the stability she risked losing. If she continues to stall or returns with renewed devaluation, you know definitively that the relationship is beyond repair. Her issues are internal, psychological, and often driven by a fundamental dissatisfaction with stability that no amount of external validation can satisfy. By chasing her, you reinforce the exact dynamic that causes her to lose respect. You confirm that you are safe, secure, and predictable, the very traits she is temporarily viewing as a deficit. When she asks for space, she is testing the market to see if she undervalued you or if her assumption that she could do better is correct. If she returns after the space phase, you must analyze her return with objective clarity. Or does she return with guilt, anxiety, and a subtle air of resentment that she had to come back to the safe option because her exciting options fell through? You must look for consistency in action, not just temporary enthusiasm driven by fear of loneliness. This pattern, the strategic use of emotional withdrawal and the creation of manufactured distance, is one of the clearest indicators that the foundations of the relationship are built on convenience, not genuine admiration or desire. It is imperative that you recognize this pattern the instant it begins. Do not minimize the red flags. Do not let hope cloud your vision. The moment she asks for space, you must assume she is exploring her other options and govern your actions accordingly. You deserve a partner who is fully present, not one who uses you as an emotional safety net while she test drives alternatives. This clarity, this ability to recognize patterns where others only see confusion, is power. We are building a community of men who refuse to live in denial, who demand truth and clarity in their partnerships. I want you to join this community right now. Affirm your commitment to truth. Type the phrase, "I see the pattern," in the comments right now to solidify your decision to stop accepting relationship fictions. You are gaining wisdom that most men actively avoid because it is uncomfortable. This action signals the algorithm that this content is valuable, ensuring more men gain this critical knowledge. And to ensure you never miss an essential truth that mainstream culture hides, subscribe to this channel. Next time, we are diving into the devastating long-term consequences of failing to recognize this pattern, specifically focusing on what happens the moment she returns from her space and how to manage the inevitable second wave of devaluation that follows. You absolutely do not want to miss the deep dive into the psychology of her return and how to prevent yourself from becoming a permanent placeholder. Tap the notification bell now and stay tuned for the next essential insight. The narrative that began with the woman needing space and evolved into the woman saying, "I'm ready now," is about to reach its definitive and painful conclusion. You are seeing the final stage of a prolonged negotiation between a woman's societal programming and her biological clock. And the man who steps into this moment, believing he is her greatest love, is almost always mistaken. Let me establish the final connection, the definitive truth that links the woman who suddenly demands space in her youth to the one who desperately demands commitment in her late 30s. The core psychological engine fueling both behaviors is the same: chronic comparison and an underdeveloped capacity for sustained, deep attachment. Before we dive into the catastrophic emotional debt this decision will create, take a moment to connect with me right now. Tell me the city you are watching this crucial presentation from. The woman who spent her 20s saying, "I need space," was signaling that her current partner was failing the comparison test. She needed space to test the market, to validate her perceived value, and to explore the greener grass she was convinced lay just outside the fence of commitment. Now, in her late 30s, that same psychological wiring remains intact, but the circumstances have reversed. She no longer seeks space because she has too many options. She seeks commitment because she has too few. This is the hidden source of conflict in the late settlement marriage. Once the man commits, once he provides the ring, the house, the stability, and the children she needed to secure her future, the external pressure eases. And what rushes into that void where panic once lived? Resentment. You are the embodiment of stability, which feels boring compared to the chaos and excitement of her youth. She is tethered to you by necessity: financial security, family structure, biological timelines, but her emotional core still longs for the men who rejected her, the high-value men who wouldn't commit, or the carefree energy of the men who provided excitement without demanding accountability. This lingering psychological debt is toxic It is the fuel of midlife marital disaster. It emerges as subtle, pervasive psychological warfare. You will notice the constant low-level criticism directed at your character, your job, your physical appearance, or your hobbies. This deep-seated dissatisfaction also destroys intimacy. The duty intimacy we discussed, the once-a-month transaction required to maintain the partnership, is driven by obligation, not authentic desire. You are providing the framework for her life, but you are not the center of her desire. And that emotional disconnection is more painful than any infidelity. Look at the statistical cliff awaiting men who enter these settlement marriages. The national divorce rate hovers near 50%, but for second marriages, and marriages where one party enters with a history of instability and significant relationship baggage, the failure rate soars higher. The instability that defined her 20s doesn't magically vanish because she wears a wedding band. She merely trades the instability of choosing partners for the instability of sustaining commitment. When the relationship faces its first major challenge, the kind of challenge that requires mutual self-sacrifice and emotional maturity, her conditioned response is to seek escape, to threaten the nuclear option, or to return to the old mindset, I need space. But this time, I need space isn't a casual exit. It's a legal separation. And you, the committed partner, bear the financial cost of the family structure she desperately recruited you to build. You risked your stability, your prime financial years, and your emotional health on a performance driven by fear, not love. The most critical and devastating factor is the timeline of the man's life. These are the years a man often reaches his peak, earning potential, his greatest stability, and his highest value. He invests his most productive decade, the time when he should be compounding wealth, building legacy, and seeking a stable partner, into managing her crisis. He loses half of his accumulated resources, suffers the emotional trauma, and is thrown back into a dating market that is even more brutal for him, having lost his most valuable resource, time. He sacrificed his peak years to be someone's temporary solution. You are a man of value. Your commitment, your stability, your resources, these are not commodities to be traded for temporary acceptance. We must speak directly to the man who is currently dating the 37-year-old in the I'm ready now phase. You are seeing the performance. She tells you she values stability. She cooks the occasional meal. But look past the performance and recognize the internal mechanism. The comparison disease is active. The resentment is preloaded. Do not be fooled by the urgency. Do not let her biological clock become the timer for your financial and emotional destruction. Your options, as established, are clear, but your execution must be flawless. First, you stand firm in reality. You maintain your pace, ignoring the pressure and the ultimatums. If she truly changed, she will respect your need for a slow, thorough vetting process. Second, you prioritize genuine, reciprocal attraction. You must demand a woman who desires you with authentic enthusiasm, not resignation. That gut feeling is your subconscious accounting system tallying up the emotional risks. Third, you reserve your commitment. You commit them only to a partner who has demonstrated long-term consistency, low relationship history, and a proven, mature capacity for sustained pair bonding, unburdened by chronic dissatisfaction. The culture calls this wisdom and boundary setting, insecurity, or misogyny. Let them use their labels. You call it self-preservation, risk management, and demanding reciprocity for the high value you bring to the table. The final question you must answer is not whether she is a good woman. Perhaps she is in many contexts, but whether she is a woman who can be a good wife to you right now, given her history and her current timeline. The evidence, the statistics, and the human psychology all point to a high probability of failure. The only way to win this game is to refuse to play when the odds are stacked against you. Do not mistake a settlement for a choice. We are at the close of this discussion, a discussion that challenges the core narratives pushed by society. This clarity is your power. We are taking back control of our relationship destinies by refusing to ignore uncomfortable truths. I want to see this message echo in the comments section. You must recognize that moment of clarity when you truly understood the pattern. This commitment to truth empowers not only you, but every man reading those comments. And do this immediately, like this video right now. Subscribe to this channel. Join the growing legion of men who choose clarity over comfort and strategy over sentimentality. You know that understanding these hidden dynamics protects you from catastrophic mistakes. I promise you this. The next video will expose the unspoken truth about male attractiveness that the dating market actively suppresses. Do not miss that essential revelation. Activate your notifications right now and prepare for the next level of insight. I see the pattern now. Affirm your power.